This is Talk of the Devils, the athletics show dedicated to Manchester United. Coming up on the show today, it's the season preview. We're going to be asking where we're at with Ruben Amorim. We're going to take a look at the squad, have a little bit of an assessment on what's needed and what's been brought in already. And we'll also ponder our hopes, dreams and fears ahead of the brand new campaign. And I should say, really, welcome to those of you who are watching on YouTube for the first time. Welcome to our channel. Nice new setup as well. If you're listening on the podcast, hello again. Won't be quite as exciting for you, I don't think. But Andy, Carl and Laurie, everyone's here. How are we feeling?
Good. Lovely day in Manchester. Nice to see your faces again after a little break from you.
You sound so
why do you
convincing,
sound like
Andy.
you've been forced to read that out from a statement?
Look, I'm just reading off the script here.
Nice though. Like what you've done with the place.
Oh, absolutely. I think we have to give props to our producer Adey for picking the decor and the pictures. You know, obviously the narcissist in me likes having quite a few portraits of my own face dotted around the place, so that's great.
You mean you haven't put those in?
These actually weren't even my choices, so yeah, just naturally happened.
Just pick the good ones.
Just the good ones. The ones that get the best side of it.
Yeah.
It's great. It's great to be here. Hello. Hi.
Yeah, I should say, you want to do this bit, don't you? Because you want to be the YouTuber. So what does everyone need to do if they're watching on YouTube?
Well, Carl's the expert on YouTube. I need to follow his lead on that one.
You want the one practicing before. So,
Okay,
yeah.
this is why I had to practice getting the groove of things. Like and subscribe down below, please. Comment, get into all the interactions. Let us know where we're going wrong.
Don't forget to click the bell for notifications.
Click the what, sorry?
Click the bell for notifications.
Sure.
For new updates of the Talk of Devils channel.
Great shout. That's my new favourite term. Click the bell, everyone. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can do all those things. Obviously, there's still the email account as well, devilspod@theathletic.com. And if you're listening on the podcast, then just do your usual thing. Get in touch. We'd love to hear from you, as always. Let's get into it then. So, pre-season has started. Last season was a disaster all round, pretty much. Where are we at with the Manchester United head coach, Ruben Amorim? It's a big question.
What, just generally, philosophically?
Yeah.
Practically?
Spiritually.
Well, you know, he's at Carrington, so that's nice. He's back. And where is he in the status of the fan base? I think he's still got credit, you know, just because of the way he's carried himself, not really for what's happened on the pitch. I know there was a few high points that will stick in people's minds and kind of encourage that maybe something could build. But obviously it was abysmal, wasn't it, in the Premier League? So that is the platform that needs to be built on. And he has got a big job on his hands because he's got players that are sort of still at the club that he doesn't want, clearly. And we can debate the merits of that in terms of how that leaves United's leverage in the transfer market. Mm-hmm. But his reshaping of this squad is, you know, going at a pace that is perhaps not in keeping with the dramatic change that would be required for an uplift significantly to the start of next season. So, yeah, I think he's got a big job on his hands to get the emotions of the players in the right place, to get the right style and shape for his team, the right players in the right positions, because it's a heck of a start to the season that we've got coming ahead.
Absolutely. I think there is a willingness.
That was a deep breath, Carl, already.
I think United fans want Amorim to do well because the chopping and changing and churn is getting unpalatable. I think there's a growing awareness and understanding that the problems in and around United are bigger than what any one coach can deal with, because we've seen it happen with multiple predecessors to Amorim. However, he's got to start winning games. And I felt this. He gave a really great speech after beating Aston Villa in the final day of the season about how the good times are coming. And it's like, that's a great speech. But also, I know he can do a good speech. Can he give me some victories at home, please?
Yeah.
And this is it of... Yeah, I get it. There is nervousness over the ingoings and outgoings, and there's nervousness about, is the squad actually to his liking or suiting? Bing bang, bing bang, boom. You do need to start winning games. We're getting real close to the end of excuse time, and if you don't start winning games, it's gonna start looking really spooky around autumn and Christmas, like it has been spooky for previous managers.
Andy, I've seen the front cover of your fanzine. It promises that the good times are coming. Stan Chow's done a design that says exactly that. Are they?
They have to. It's make or break for Ruben Amorim this season. there's no way that Manchester United could finish 15th or even 12th or even 10th. And I'm going to start trailing off a bit because if I start saying 8th, I'll be going, oh, well, that could be seen.
I've heard some fans say top half.
I'll take
Yeah.
8.
That's the adjusted
I will take
perspective
8th.
now.
What,
Yeah.
that's the target for the season?
Yeah.
Some fans, I think, would be satisfied with that. So when you were getting to
Yeah.
10th, I think they'd be like, yeah, that's okay. It's
Yeah.
improvement.
I suppose we've talked about this before. It depends how it feels to be 10th, doesn't it? If it feels how it feels to be 15th, then that's a problem. If it feels like there's a huge sense of progress and there's maybe some clear reasons why they've not been able to finish higher, it's really tight in the table, or there's key injuries again, although injuries probably will make everyone do an even bigger side than Carl did a minute ago. The one thing for me, I wonder whether the end of the season actually came at quite a good time because it didn't feel sustainable what was going on. Losing every week in the Premier League. Played 27, won 7, drawn 6, lost 14. 1 win in the final 9 fixtures, which was on the final day, losing 6 of them. So to have this break, to then come back with pre-season, which is the key time for any boss to work with the team and get stuff sorted, it's come at a good time for him, hasn't it?
Yeah. And the lack of European football should help him prepare properly, because that was a complaint of his in the early days. And he was very honest, and the fans like his honesty, his brutal honesty. He's a good-looking fella. He communicates well.
Oh, yeah.
And I think he feels that the praise towards him and the support from fans is undeserved. You know, he said that to
Don't sing
some
my name.
people I know.
Yeah.
And you can understand that because it's been terrible. If you're walking to Old Trafford thinking that Man United are going to lose, I've never known that in my lifetime. And that became the norm last year. So there's got to be more wins. Clearly, there's got to be more wins. Even if the team were to finish 10th, that's probably, 7 more wins, 6 more wins, something like that. It's desperate, isn't it? There's got to be moments. And there were a couple last year, but there's got to be cup runs. They've got to come domestically now. But as you say, there's got to be clear signs of an improvement, because if there isn't, I think the support will ebb pretty quickly away. And can the manager just effectively flick a switch and get the team winning again? I don't think. Do you think we'll win the league this year?
Not this year.
No.
This decade?
They've got to see more goals.
Someone should do a project or something for
Old
that.
Trafford's got to be better
A mission.
in terms of the performances. You've got to see clear signs of improvement. And I think if fans see that, they will be supportive towards him. As Carl and Laurie said, they do want him to succeed.
Yeah.
But if you're 15th by November, you're going to have people going, this guy's just a blagger.
The thing is, though, Laurie, there has been mitigation for him in the sort of environment around the club across the last season. I think even before that, under Erik ten Hag as well. The sense that there's been a lot more going on than playing football matches, not all of it very positive either. So is that sort of clear mitigation for what's happened? The fact that they've gone through another year where there's been a lot of people leaving, another summer where there's been a lot of people leaving, and the finances, only obviously Patrick Dorgu coming in for him mid-season to try and improve things. Is that a good reason why it's not been better than it's been?
I think it's a very valid one. And I know that ultimately it comes down to what happens on the pitch for a game, in the dressing room, on the training pitches. But there is a wider sort of ecosystem around this. And I was told by a lot of people that did impact the first team. You had Johnny Evans speaking about it in pre-season in Los Angeles.
It can't not affect the first team. I know that you say that players live in a bubble to a degree, but it can't not affect people when they're going into work every day and the feeling, the emotion inside the stadium, around the training ground, every single day.
And also people that they knew and had relationships with were losing their jobs. So that is going to have some kind of impact. And you're sort of perhaps questioning, okay, well, what are we building towards here? And I think that is probably one thing that Ruben Amorim has majorly in his credit, is how he spoke about all that. He did it privately with the staff. He was in front of them. I think it was sort of about Christmas time, maybe. So he's only fresh into the building, really, at this point. And he spoke about how he knew that the football team had to do better to kind of protect these people from losing their jobs, because it was sort of that was the issue, wasn't it? Bad recruitment, spending too much money. Okay, we're going to have to cut back. And again, we can debate the exact rights and wrongs of that. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has got perhaps a different perspective than what a lot of other people might have thought was a way of going about it. But Amorim spoke well on it, and he spoke publicly, compellingly about it as well. So I think a lot of people see a person there who's got a good emotional intelligence, understanding of the wider context of football, and want him to be a figurehead for their football club, which is what Sir Alex Ferguson used to do brilliantly. You know, he'd have that touch between, you know, boardroom and boot room, and be able to communicate effectively with anybody that he spoke to, and, you know, remembered names brilliantly. So that's the kind of thing that I think United should have as their guy in the hot seat. It's got to be accompanied by results and performances.
Yeah, it helped that Ferguson was a serial winner when he had those sort of touches. But his record coming to Manchester United, Carl, was excellent. Ruben Amorim, he was one of the most highly thought of coaches in Europe back in the autumn when he was brought over, and obviously the ultimatum he was given at the time about coming now and not later. Will he be benefited by the fact that he's been around for 8 months this week and he's had a chance to see what the Premier League's like, what the club's like? Will that benefit them when they kick off against Arsenal for the start of the new season?
I hope so. I hope the January to the end of the season period now has given him a greater appreciation of the physicality in the Premier League. This was the word he kept using all the time. I hope now he understands the difference between playing Andy's favourite Bournemouth away from home compared to, say, playing...
Bournemouth at home's tricky for anyone who's not noticed.
But it's that sort of difference and nuance, because Michael Cox has wrote a brilliant piece before Amorim arrived about the comparative difference between the top of the Premier League in Portugal and the bottom, and how that's widely skewed, and Bruno Fernandes also spoken about how Amorim maybe perhaps didn't quite understand how strong the bottom half of the Premier League was, or how up for it they are.
Are they including United within that assessment then?
Let's probably do that as well. So he's got that knowledge now. He's been chin checked. He's been beaten up a couple of times. He's not going to be going up to St James's Park going, "What's Newcastle like?" Because you know now they're going to elbow you in your throat if you're not paying attention. However, please start winning games ASAP. I get it, mitigating factors, but it's this really annoying thing of there are always going to be mitigating factors about being a Manchester United manager. Every single manager post Sir Alex Ferguson has had something not be ideal, because Manchester United is a huge institution where there's that person who knows stuff, but also that person sort of has their job title and also knows stuff. So which one do you talk to any given day? And I suppose you can make the Joker argument that that's why Sir Jim Ratcliffe's been trying to trim down the workforce, but there is a lot of ways you can get lost and confused in and around Man United. There's loads of people who are trying to con Man United and stop them from doing what they really want to do. I wouldn't be surprised if years later we found out 2 or 3 rivals to Man United have set traps for United in the transfer market. Right? It's never going to be ideal. It's never going to be plain sailing. So start being a better sailor through those waters, please.
To your point, yes, it has helped. He and his staff have got used to living in Manchester, and their families. You know, they don't just come alone. They're living in a new country. To Carrington, to Old Trafford, to the media environment, to the pressure. It's completely different to what any of them have experienced before. To their players, strengths and weaknesses. I mean, he made a judgment on a couple of them really early on. So Omar Barada really stressed his point to me. It's better to bring him in then, let him make mistakes, but there has to be a cut-off point where he starts winning matches. And I think fans are slightly optimistic that that will happen.
Was it Omar Barada who insisted he came at that point? That was the story at the time.
That was the story at the time. He pushed back a bit on that when I spoke to him. He said it was a technical decision, which
Jason Wilcox then?
Which surprised me a little bit. Yeah, I think Jason Wilcox has become a very powerful person at Manchester United. He's making a lot of decisions there.
His title's changed.
And Barada certainly spoke up of his knowledge of the Premier League, said he's a Premier League winner. And United fans would always look at it's only Blackburn, but he actually is a Premier League winner. You know, he did a very good job at Manchester City, and Laurie did a very good article on him a couple of weeks ago. He's got to start winning. We keep saying it. We keep coming back to that point.
I think it can go one or two ways, in that he's now had 6 to 8 months in charge of Man United. He's got his feet on the table. He now knows everything. And then they can all just sort of use the summer as a reset and go on. And they all know exactly what this plan, what the intricacies of his 3-4-3. And there's less of that first week of getting used to each other. Fine. Or Unfortunately, there could be so many battle scars from that 6 to 8 months that when they start this new season and perhaps that 2 or 3 weeks of preseason aren't going brilliantly, those players, staff, whoever looks at them and goes, it's been 8 months of this. Shouldn't we be further along here? So and that's a real, for me, it's not a coin toss yet, but there's two ways this can go. In that the last season could be really, really good, or last season could have put in some wounds here that is going to make him look not the amazing shiny new toy that he could have been if he just joined this summer.
Yeah, okay. Well, what we wanted to do on the podcast was try and draw up a little bit of a to-do list for Ruben Amorim. He's got enough to do, to be fair, but a little bit of a to-do list for pre-season. Some of the things that we think just need nailing in this little period that they've got. It's a couple of weeks or so to the first game against Leeds in Stockholm. So I'm going to go with number one, if that's okay, and that's nail the formation and sort out what is going to be ideally the team that's going to start against Arsenal on the first day, because that formation point, Andy, feels like a nagging doubt that was still there at the end of last season. Even in that final in the Europa League in Bilbao, it still didn't feel as fluid and as automatic as it needs to.
Can't believe you've reminded me of that.
Sorry.
I'm still gutted about it, I'm like looking back at the stats on it, think, Alvin Man United.
When was the last time you looked back at the stats? On the way over?
I had a chat about yesterday, and for another part of my work, I've just have to write about this.
Still?
Still. I'm gutted about it. Anyway.
Do we just refer to it as the B word moving forward? Although there's another B that we've had for a lot of... Yeah.
Sorry, the bad B. This is the bad B.
The bad B of Bilbao. Yeah. Go on, carry on.
No, you're carrying on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sustains, Andy.
Yeah.
The formation, I don't think there was a plan B in Bilbao. And
Does he need to change the formation? Does he need...
he would argue that he does change it.
Does he need to at least consider changing it more overtly? Or is that trying to appease people too much? Do we go on about it too much?
Two up top, basically, you're saying. In those moments where
two up top,
United need goals.
A more standardised back four. I know it changes a bit to becoming a back four at times in game, but establishing that from the outset that it's a back four.
So
with only two centre backs.
Amorim picks the 3-4-3. There's a great piece that Charlotte Harper worked with Jack Lang and others athletic about why he made this sort of change, and it's at Casapisa, and he's like, right, this is the formation, this is the shape. And I think his reason for it, you can he wants to have an extra person at the back when counter-attacks happen. And this, you can look back at when United lost 3-0 to Liverpool under Ten Hag, and Arne Slot's just there with a microphone saying, yeah, we knew if we won the ball, it'd be one player and their two centre-backs, and there was options. But if you and I think Amorim has always got, if I have an extra centre-back there, that gives me some protection. And also from the 3-4-3, you can shift to 4-4-2, you can shift to other shapes.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, why don't you just do those other shapes first, and then you can build the 3-4-3 later on? That he's going for a very bespoke system really, really early out the gate that leaves you with very little wiggle room from your plan A, because everyone knows what you're doing. You've got no poker face. It leads you with no fog of war in the transfer market, because if you are Juventus, Inter, everyone, you're going, well, he's going to come for me any point now because he wants my wingbacks. If you've been watching the Club World Cup, it's been really, really... There was a fascinating game between Real Madrid and Al Hilal. Xabi Alonso in charge of Real Madrid, and he's doing 4-4-3. Simone Inzaghi in charge of Al Hilal, and he's doing 4-3-3 as well. And it's that, so the two best managers last season from using three at the back are using 4-3-3s at their new club.
It's amazing how the Club World Cup can still become about Manchester United.
Everything's about Man United.
Yeah, but even that debate, I was fascinated the same, because certainly Alonso, he's brand new to that role, and he's doing multiple formations, from the start of games.
Absolutely. So he's done 4-3-3, he's done a 3 at the back as well. And I think that I would like him to be more willing to try other formations in games, but I think he's just got this grand plan that if you start with a 3-4-3, it can be a chameleon and do other things. The problem with that is it requires so many multi-talented and multifaceted players at a time when United don't necessarily have the money to get all them in.
Yeah, and the ones that they've got have not got endless amounts of experience of playing this way either, I suppose. So, okay, that's number one then, nail the formation. Number two, just improve the feeling of being a Manchester United player for the players, improve the feeling of watching Manchester United for the fans, just improve the entire spirit, right?
Yeah, and I suppose to that degree, then the post-season tour, okay, the players didn't want to go, but they certainly were, able to enjoy themselves in moments over in Kuala Lumpur and Hong Kong. So is that a sort of first step to creating that team spirit? Ruben Amorim spoke about it, hasn't he, and how pre-season is a time where you can spend your time with your colleagues in a more relaxed setting where you're not having to go game by game by game,
podcast by podcast,
getting tired and sick of the sight of each other. Joking, but
Half.
I think. But there's I think that's got some merit to it, to be honest. I do think that pre-season you spend we've seen the players, haven't we, relaxing at hotels in San Diego or wherever, and obviously they're going to be doing that in Chicago this year. So that ability to just spend some time, have those little conversations about certain runs that you might have made in moments, or just get to know each other better, so you kind of have that trust on the pitch when you're kind of demanding someone to make that overlapping run. I think that is important. But as I said earlier, having that. He's obviously got players around that he doesn't want. So how does he manage that? How does he kind of make sure that then the players that are in his thoughts are with him, and they're able to kind of proceed without it becoming like it perhaps did at times under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, where you had quite a bloated squad. Players knew they weren't going to play. They were sort of having a bit of a bad mood around them. That then seeps into the first team squad. I think that is really important in this period now.
Because pre-season feel can certainly impact the start of the season, can't it?
Yeah, although results have been brilliant pre-season, and then the season started and the results have not been brilliant.
You're talking about Louis van Gaal's pre-season champions.
But you are also right. I remember America 2 or 3 years ago, and I spoke to someone, and I was looking good, aren't they? And it's no, and that person was right, and I was wrong. And Laurie's right. You do familiarise yourself with your new teammates. Chicago's a wonderful city. Sometimes you have some free time. I actually heard good things about the postseason tour as well. I saw a couple of really negative pieces, not in the Athletic. I heard the opposite, that people actually saw merit in it. The team spirit has to improve. I don't know whether that's another point which you come on to, but when Ruben Amorim came in November, I said there's a very complicated dressing room there. People kept saying, why? That problem has not gone away. It has improved. But your team spirit's not improving when you're losing every week and you're 15th in the table.
No.
Success has many claimants, but there's been no success. So those players have got to feel happier. And of course it helps if the staff around them are happier and they're not losing the jobs and there's not side issues left, right and centre every single week. Hopefully they've gone. Hopefully there'll be more stability. But I'm not saying now that Manchester United's players are flying into this season going, everything's going to be fine now, because there's still so many issues which need to be resolved. There's players who need to be moved on. And as Laurie said, what do you do with those players? And I think the manager still has to win the trust of the players. And he'll do that by winning football matches and playing good football.
Yeah, that's almost the next one on the list, isn't it? Win games, score goals.
We talk about the relationship with Amorim and the players. I think the relationship with Amorim and the fans, I'd like to see a little bit more. I really want to see Old Trafford become a fortress again. I think that was one thing Ten Hag managed to bring together really quickly in his first season. Old Trafford felt great in that 22-23 season. There were times you just
nearly broke the record, didn't they, for winning most games at Old Trafford?
Absolutely. And I think that can be so important for how the rest of your season turns out. I mean, it's one of those things, if you look back at...
How did he do that?
Beating Liverpool in August.
And Arsenal. Yeah. And Arsenal, right?
Yeah.
So those two games.
He's got to start strong, hasn't he?
Because he lost his
Arsenal
first game
home,
at Old Trafford.
I think the TRA were very strong in the Stretford end as well. That helped that season.
The start's going to be really, really, really important. And the Stretford end, I mean, every section of Old Trafford's always going to be loud at the start of the season, but you've got to make sure that stays loud. Amorim is already talking about how he doesn't feel like he deserves that song. Earn it then. Give me something other than this half crouching, twitching stuff I'm seeing two or three times.
That's not stopping either, is it, by the way?
I know. He definitely got more irate in April time. But I'd be really, really good to get ready to go to Old Trafford, not just on a Sunday this season, because there's no European football.
Saturday every week.
Saturday every week.
Yeah.
So
apart from the first one.
It'd be really good to get, I'm getting my rucksack on. putting on my podcast gear and going, I'm going to Old Trafford today.
So you're getting excited.
I want to be excited.
Yeah.
I want to forget those days where you're going, oh God, no, it's Brentford. I'm not sure. It's Brentford at home. Brentford's really physical. This one might happen. This might happen. This might happen. I want to feel more confident.
Well, goals, to Ian's point, goals is obviously essential to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
And obviously that's where they've been focusing all their energies in the transfer market. And you hope that that's then going to translate in terms of them going for players that have scored in the Premier League before now. They've obviously had a big shift on that. I think Ratcliffe's view is interesting on that as well, as we perhaps go into it as the weeks go on, but that might reveal itself a little bit more. But how will that actually shake down? 44 goals, I think it was, in the Premier League last season, and that is obviously dreadful. And so they've got to score more goals. Can Amorim find a way with his system to make that happen? He obviously talked about set pieces quite a lot. I wonder if that's going to be, again, an emphasis of his, or whether that just was something that he felt he needed to talk about because it's the Premier League. Let's see. But clearly, you've got to start scoring goals.
I'll be interested to see if he bumps up the counter-attacking threat. We've seen more than one United manager try and implement one system and then go, not getting enough goals here. Let's see if we can start counter-attacking a little bit. So Ten Hag's done it. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was brilliant at it. Van Gaal tried to, but he was too fond of those long diagonals out to the fullback. Mourinho was also big on counter-attacks, and I think the counter-attacking threat definitely dropped under Amorim. You're going, we do have two or three.
The pace was slower.
He wants.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
He wants more patient build-up, and that's why Garnacho, I think, had issues adjusting.
But there's just something to me about Man United winning the ball on the edge of their box, and it just.
Oh yeah, it's the history, it's the heritage.
That's because you've watched it so many times before.
And the crowd responds to that.
Yeah.
Old Trafford's
Yeah.
brilliant for that. It's
Yeah.
one of the best sounds in football. But I also think United fans can do better. I think the TRA are pretty determined to do it. I think it was really average so many times last year. And you'd go to European games and it was miles better. And I don't think it was good in Bilbao. I've had a few complaints about it. And they're right. I was that engrossed in the game, I didn't really pick up on it. And one fella said to me, I looked around and everyone had just been drinking all day. It was the last half hour of the game. And they couldn't offer support to the team. I felt really let down by it. That's what someone said to me. And I believe that version. And looking back, United fans can be better.
They're just beaten down by last season, though, weren't they?
I know. And it's a cultural thing as well.
It's chicken and egg a little bit.
It
as
is.
well, isn't
It is. And it's never going to be Boca Juniors or River Plate because that is a cultural thing. But there is room for improvement.
They're looking at that, though, aren't they? They're doing flags in the Stretford end.
Yeah.
They're trying to bring that back. So obviously they've reclaimed the Stretford end from the executive seats that got put in the early 90s that we've talked about earlier, but now flagged as well. I mean, I don't know how much that would then generate the atmosphere, but they're obviously thinking about these things, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
got
it's
to be
an
give and
issue.
take. We got to see some really impressive United performances, and that will lead to more fan chants. That will lead to more cheering.
Get there earlier. People turn up 2 minutes before kickoff.
But it's also
I've seen you turn up 2 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah.
Been selling some magazine.
Yeah,
But it's
brilliant.
also
One hand coffee, the other hand cheese, from memory.
Yeah, that was it. That was it as well.
I think it's back and forth. If I'm in Joshua Xerxes' clique, or if I'm in Rasmus Højlund's clique, I'm going, this is the season where you get a fan chant. We're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And then if you do this, you're going to get a fan chant. And then when that happens, you're going to get even better. That's what you should be aiming for. If I'm starting this season, I'm going to score this many goals in this many games. And then hopefully the fans are going to respond by giving me a fan chant. And hopefully I can show them what it means.
I was in San Sebastian where people were trying to think of a Xerxes fan chant. I think I've sung it on this podcast. So there is something there bubbling maybe if, he really kicks on.
And Xerxes is a really good example of how the fan base can help you, even from your lowest ebb, when you're seen to be putting in a shift. So a couple more goals through his game, and that will help make Old Trafford better. But it's got to go back and forth.
We've done a lot on this, and we've only got 3 points on the to-do list. So a couple of quick ones. I think you had a couple that you wanted to bring up, Carl, so you can maybe even do these 2 yourself if you like.
Yeah, I want the team to be nastier. I think I've said too many times in this podcast. I've said it up towards the end of Ten Hag's reign. I want them to get taller. I want them to get nastier. I want shin kickers. I want ground eaters. I want our defenders to be pulling people at set pieces. I want to see pinching. I want to see pinching in slow mo. right? I want to see someone.
If you see it, then they've made it too obvious.
Look,
they need to be secretive about it.
So one thing that annoys me a lot is, and this happened to Binder 2 or 3 times, and Onana 2 or 3 times, of goalkeeper on a corner kick, and you're just swarmed in your 6-yard box by opposition players. What are you doing? If you are a United player and you're seeing your goalkeeper there, clear him out. Like,
Cunha can talk to him about that. I interviewed Matheus Cunha after the game at Molineux, and he said explicitly in the interview that they had seen what Manchester United were doing at the corners. They'd seen the fact
Arsenal away the same month
that they could target Onana and the situation around the goalkeeper and just literally swing a corner into the far post and score. And obviously Son did it for Spurs against a different goalkeeper.
You couldn't. You should
but
not.
He literally explained it. We prepared for it. Yeah, I said, have you ever scored from a corner before? No. Did you prepare for it? Yes.
Yeah. Other Premier League teams think you're a soft touch. Do something about it smartly, right? When the ref's not looking, lower body stuff.
And the last one? Does anyone remember what we said the last one
I
should
remember
be?
the last one.
Go on then.
Well, you wanted to know exactly what was going to happen with Kobbie Amad and
That's
his
the one.
positioning. Can I add a sort of an additional one to Amad as well? But sort of
Yeah,
both of them.
yeah.
Where do they play?
We can make it Amad and Menu. Yeah.
Amad and Mano. Because obviously they're two young players that United, I think a lot of people would hope, the central points of a new team going forward. Now, obviously, maybe there's a bit more debate around Manu's situation, as we heard in January. We sort of had a look into that, didn't we? But those two players that are clearly very technical, have already enjoyed really good moments for United. Can they be part of this system, this future?
Absolutely. I think Manu's. He's not played too many seasons in the Man United shirt, but if you look at the biggest moments from the last 2 or 3 years, how often Manu's there already. Like his CV is looking pretty good already. And I don't see how a top coach, which Amorim is very often called, I don't see how a coach of Amorim's reported talent and appreciation for talent looks at Manu and goes, I can't find a role for you. There's got to be something there. Yes, he's not perfect. There's still parts to his game. I want to see more from Manu in terms of defensive positioning. I want to see more about him in terms of his long passing, especially. Right? If he can start picking up the ball and then hitting it 20, 30 yards out wide for when United are getting a counter-attack, then things get better. But surely there's a role for him in a starting 11.
Because technically he's very good. Probably needs to run more in Amorim's system.
Yep.
He needs to score more.
Everyone needs to do that.
Obviously, he had that number 10 position over in Bucharest after that fantastic piece by you on their football teams. And obviously he got injured, but we didn't really then see it again, did we? And you think with the signings that they're making, it's going to be a deeper position for him, right? You think perhaps alongside Bruno Fernandes, it is a little bit of a question mark. Where does he fit into all this?
If only there was some way of talking about that in a section that's coming up in a moment. Okay, squad assessment then. We'll start with the forwards. So we expect that Bryan Mbuemo will be added to this list at some point in the not too distant future, hopefully. And that's now, I think, the 5th show that I've said that in. So let's hope I'm not saying it a 6th time. Carl, how exactly do you think all this is going to fit together once it's all done and dusted?
I think it's interesting that they're going for Premier League tested. I think they are trying
Premier League proven?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Why not?
That sounded hesitant, tested.
I'll admit, I've not seen as much of Cunha as I have seen of Big Bry at Brentford. So if I sound more positive about Big Bry, that's not because I think he's better or worse, but just because I've just watched more Brentford games.
I love how confused people are going to be if they're watching this for the first time on YouTube about Bry, Big B, the B from Brentford, the B of the Bang. And Mbuemo's been a bit of an issue for some of our panel to pronounce, so this is what we've gone with. Sorry, continue.
It does help United become a more direct threat. I think we're going to see loads of, well, in theory, there's going to be, if United get good at scoring a certain type of goal, you want to keep looking for underlapping runs out wide before they get pinged in, which could be really, really fun. The fact that both Cunha and
Mbuemo, yeah,
are
much closer than before.
Very confident forwards as well means the onboarding period that we saw the first couple of weeks when Xerxes was there, and also, I mean, at this point in time, they can both play match day one because it took a while for Højlund to start playing games, and Xerxes.
They've not started pre-season games yet because
Yes.
that often provides a bit of a curveball, doesn't it?
Yep,
It
so
certainly did last year.
Hopefully these are two
Hopefully no one
players.
gets injured on pre-season because
That could have been one of the to-do list, actually. No injuries.
no injuries actually.
Yeah.
Can we, point?
No, it's too late.
No, okay.
Sorry.
And one thing that I keep bringing it up, but it was after the beating Athletic Club. I said what he said. I asked Amorim what characteristics did he need. He said particularly from the right side of 10. He said it's really useful if they have a left foot.
Yeah.
And he's often talked, particularly from the wide players, the tens, I should say. It's really useful when they can go inside and outside. And he said if you've got and he brought up he brought up Garnacho for this, of how both Amad and Garnacho have a preference to want to come inside all the time, which can make it easier for you as a defence to do that. So these two new players give more options as they can go outside a little bit more, which hopefully means more crosses and more different ways to break down a defence.
Enables the system a bit more, doesn't it? These two, they feel like the sort of versatile options that can play in any one of those three front positions, which then does bring that little bit more of a question mark about how exactly United are going to approach certain games for the opposition, not so much for the team who will have had a week, every week pretty much, to prepare.
That is going to be so fascinating to watch that they have this extra space and time to recuperate, to plan.
Straight away, they've had a week. They've had a week. What have they done this week?
And I do, clearly Cunha has played in this system exactly with Wolves, so that you can see how that tessellates. And then Mbuemo is a little bit different. Like, obviously,
Tessellates is a big word.
I knew you were going to pull me up on that. I nearly didn't say it. I was like, no, I'm going to say it and see if Ian calls me out. You like that. So fits. So
much easier.
And Mbuemo obviously has that kind of area of the pitch for Brentford. He's played up top a bit, not loads, I wouldn't have said, and it's usually with Wissa up alongside him, so it's very much in a 2. So whereas Amorim, it's usually a focal point. So, but they do think they have looked at Cunha and Mbuemo and think these guys could play up top. So that kind of carousel that we've spoken about, and does that then change what they do in the transfer market in terms of sales and signings? So I think that it certainly gives them options. They're two quality players for me, and they've scored quite a few goals. So that's something that not a lot of United players can say that are currently in the squad.
Number 9 is the biggest question mark, isn't it?
Yeah. Really looking forward
point.
to seeing Cunha. Really, I thought he was top for Wolves as well, and the big B as well, if that gets sorted out. Number 9 is really important. What's going to happen with Rasmus Højlund? There's definitely been interest in him. I think there was some uncertainty a few weeks ago from the United side. I think if a big offer came in for him...
what do you think will happen with him? Because we've got someone who's sat not far away.
I'd be surprised. As we speak at the moment, I'd be surprised if he goes.
So you're more in than out then? Because you were more out than in.
Come on.
Yeah.
I'm more out than in.
Yeah.
I think we're both... there's a middle point, isn't there?
Whoa.
One's
This is
on
far
one
too
side,
early in the
one's on
argument
the
to be
second
trying to
side.
draw a point of compromise.
I just feel like it's gone to that point with him, and there's definite interest from Inter, and I just wonder if it gets to a stage in the season, in the summer rather, where they could get good money for him, they would accept it and just think we need to move on from him and we need to raise funds.
Yeah.
That is, that is their now priority, right? Making these sales happen and getting decent money for them. Garnacho obviously is another one where that is clearly a big rift with him and Amorim now. So.
He doesn't feel like Højlund's burnt bridges, though.
No. He wants to stay.
We're not talking about anything that he's done or his social media, which we have in other cases. It doesn't feel like he's agitating.
No, not at all.
No. Certainly not publicly, anyway.
No, but his stock among the fan base is very low.
That's going to be a challenge for him to get over, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there are some goals he scored in Europa League last season or in the Champions League the season before that, and then you look at him and his movement from the last 2 or 3 months on the Amorim, and it just looks like night and day. And hopefully this break, this pre-season, he's refreshed the batteries, he's feeling a little bit more relaxed, and he's making a commitment to do some more of the movements that saw him be so impressive in those Champions League group stages where I think it was 5 goals.
That Galatasaray goal.
And the Europa League, against Bodo Glimt, that goal.
The goal against Bodo,
was the second best in the Europa League last year, as decided by the technical observers.
Yep. One touch and the other one to get it up, and the other one to finish it. But that's that improvisational skill, that intuitive thinking that
Confidence, right?
yeah, you can only really do that when you're confident, when you're in the flow state. And there were so many Premier League games specifically where he is getting the ball out wide, he's looking up, near post is covered, and he's trying to get for the far post, and it's just going.
I think the biggest defence for Højlund, Andy, I don't know what you think, is the fact that he is still pretty inexperienced at the very top level, and he's being asked to lead the line every week, be the solution, the option, the goal scorer for a struggling Manchester United team at the age of 22, which I think for any player who is unproven at the top level at this point in their career is a huge challenge, isn't it? And it just felt like last season he just struggled with that, understandably, to be honest.
There's sympathy for that, as you say, and there's a lot of support for him. He also makes a lot of runs that don't always get appreciated. He runs behind a lot. I don't think fans have given up on him, but he's got to start scoring goals. Your point about his social media, he's been professional. There are other players who haven't been professional.
He grew up a Manchester United fan as well, didn't he? Which counts for something.
It does, but you've got to be performing on the pitch.
True.
And another point we're making about the players, stay humble, because unfortunately, Manchester United have had a record in the last 5 or 10 years of players completely changing their personality and not for the better. And any of the young lads coming through, if you're Amad had a really good season last year, stay at a nice level. Mm-hmm. Don't become Billy Big Balls, because it's not going to end well.
No, okay. Let's talk about Amad. We teased him in the last section. How is he used? Should he be on this list as one of the forwards, or is he going to be playing more matches at wing-back?
When it was put to me that United might have this kind of rotating array of forwards, Amad was included in that.
Once you've tessellated them all.
Once you've tessellated them, made sure that they connect well together. But Amorim was picking him as a right wing-back in games last season.
Early on as well.
Southampton
Ipswich
obviously scored his hat-trick against them, but he started that game as a right wing-back.
Ipswich first game, that run down the line
assist.
to settle Marcus
That was the
Rashford.
idea. We all saw the idea, and then it sort of,
that
frittered
minute
away
was
a little
amazing.
bit. Yeah. And that's not the first time you said that.
Ay,
Anyway,
Dios mío.
sorry. I couldn't help myself. Amad,
Not to
yes.
you, so just thought I'd point out.
And on post-season tour, he was playing right wing back as well. That was where he got his minutes. So, yeah, I'm kind of curious to see. And, there's a lot of number 10s now there at United.
Yeah.
So where does he fit in? But he was basically United's best player aside from Bruno Fernandes, maybe. Or he was rivaling him at that point before he got injured. And, when he got injured, everyone was losing their minds. This is a season derailment. And it kind of was, really.
Yeah.
So for him then to have to
back.
fit to right wing back. That's the idea though of Amorim's system, right? Isn't it? Where you have these guys in the wing back positions that can do the defensive work, but are really offensive players that you can overload the final third with. You can create combinations. They're that way inclined. That's their mentality. So ideally, if that could work with Amad, then great. But I do have a doubt about his defensive.
Well, I don't think he starts
astuteness.
right wing back against Arsenal in the first game of the season. I'm going to put it out there straight away. I might be completely wrong, and I might be completely surprised by what we see.
Socks off if he just built the team out.
Do you think he will?
No, you've got a point.
Diogo Dalot starts at right wing back
because as Laurie says, he has got the athleticism to.
But that's okay.
They've all got strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, it's fine
because Amad probably starts against Burnley.
Yeah.
In the next home game at right wing back.
And Dorgu's strengths are slightly different to Diogo Dalot's strengths as well. So it's about getting that equilibrium.
Amorim's spoken about having wanting.
I feel like I've used Tessellate on this podcast before.
You have,
yeah. And I think you pulled me up on it before as well.
Bit musky, isn't it? Really, for me. But anyway,
I'm thinking new words.
No, it's fine.
Let's leave that then. Let's talk about the midfield because again, if there's lots of options at number 10, the midfield. There's options, how ideal they are for what Ruben Amorim actually wants from his number 6s, his number 8s, however you want to term it. It feels like Bruno Fernandes now is going to be one of these. There's Casemiro, there's Manuel Ugarte, there's Kobbie Amad, who we've talked about, there's Toby Collier as a younger option. Does Mason Mount fit into this lineup now as well? Where exactly, a bit like Kobbie Amad, where exactly does he fit in with his position, because there are lots of number 10s, like we've said. So
absolutely. There's also Sekou Kone, who I want to see play preseason matches. I'm not going to say he's going to be in the first team squad after that, but I think he's going to be an interesting consideration there too.
What does he bring that the others don't have, in your opinion?
I think,
or what could he bring in the future?
He has the athleticism, that Amorim is often talking about. I know he can get up and down, but also I think his quality on the ball and the way he can take care of possession and pass over longer distances at youth level has been impressive. How that scales up, that's what I think I want to see a little bit more of during pre-season, because he's good. Is he good? Can he be that good against grown men? It is the question mark over pre-season. But you're totally right in that there are bodies in midfield. I'm not sure if they're the correct bodies or the Amorim shape that he wants. I think it's this is the thing with Manchester United. United's midfield's been a head scratcher since Michael Carrick hung up his boots, and they've had multiple really, really talented players who have played in midfield, but I think that partnership hasn't quite been there. The best one in recent times was Casemiro and Christian Eriksen, but even then, when Christian Eriksen was signed,
not McFred.
I didn't think Christian Eriksen was going to be playing box to box. McFred was good and definitely had his uses in certain matches, but there were certain points where it was unsuited for certain big games, and certain games against quote unquote smaller opposition. Trying to find a midfield partner for Bruno Fernandes is tricky because Bruno Fernandes has only really started doing this box to box deeper role since the Anfield 2-2 draw. And even then, that was a performance where I went, hang on, wait, what? You can calm it down a little bit. So seeing how it all tessellates will be really, really interesting. One game a week, Casemiro is interesting. I think also the fact that because it's one game a week, you might see midfields playing stages. So it's 60 minutes of Casemiro, then when Casemiro is blowing, then you bring on Ugarte to shut up shop. Or the other way, Ugarte to beat people up for 45 minutes. And then you can bring on Casemiro when you want to be a little bit more expansive or increase your set piece threat. The fixture list is going to be really, how Amorim takes on that fixture list is going to be really, really interesting to me.
That's where the knowledge comes in of having been around for 8 months to this point, I suppose, which is certainly potentially a benefit. That's midfield. We could talk about that more, to be honest, because there's the option to maybe bring someone in if sales happen. It feels like that's an area that United are considering. Carl wrote his article on The Athletic a couple of weeks ago about the shopping list for Ruben Amorim in that position. Defence feels like the one area that doesn't necessarily need anything.
I mean, I don't know if you count wing backs in that or not, but
let's do that, because that maybe then does pose the question that there could be something. But then again, if you've got Amad and you've got Dalot and you've got Luke Shaw and you've got Dorgu and you've got Harry Hamas and you've got Mazraoui, again, there's a lot of options.
There's options, isn't there? As you just sort of think, for the quality and the exact role, maybe that's something to be addressed in time. That's why they went for Dorgu. That was why they had to get a wing back in January, because it was clearly an issue that they
injuries
had to
as well at that point.
True. They absolutely needed left foot.
In terms of the actual central defensive unit, I think they've got options there. Lenny Yoro obviously showed his qualities towards the end of last season. They obviously have huge hopes for him. Aiden Heaven obviously is back from his injury. I think he made a good impact, didn't he? Perhaps unexpectedly for bringing in January. Harry Maguire has got his contract extended. Obviously they're losing Victor Lindelof. Matthijs de Ligt,
Johnny Evans as well.
Johnny Evans, I've got his shirt over there. What a beautiful sort of reminder of the job that he did. And now obviously he's going into a different role and managing the next generation of players.
35s,
yeah. I think that's a fairly well-stocked area. Although if there's injuries, again, it becomes an issue. But I think he can adapt, can't he, some of the fullbacks into those roles.
What's your three to start the season?
I thought Mazraoui was excellent last season and he's versatile. Lenny Yoro, as Laurie said, got stronger and stronger. Harry Maguire had a really good season. I might go for Luke Shaw on the left. I think a fit Luke Shaw could be a real huge addition for the system which Ruben Amorim plays.
In the left centre-back role.
Yeah, I say it with some caution because of his injury record.
Yeah, of course.
But he is a top player. And he came back towards the end of the season, and I'm not saying it was a little bit too soon, but he needs games. He's going into this season fresh and ready. Remember interviewing him 10 years ago now, that's how long it was, in the United States, pre-season, and he's like, I wouldn't wish anyone the injuries that I have had. And unfortunately, he's continued to have them. But if we get a 35-season game, actually, I'll scale that down.
35-game season.
We might only play 40 games this season. If we get Luke Shaw playing and not being injured, I think he could be really good. And then we've got Martinez coming back as well. He's another one.
Yeah.
Top first season, but question marks over his injuries.
You dodged that really well.
Go on. Who am I starting?
So you said
All
Luke
right.
Shaw
I think you
left
said
side.
Mazraoui.
Mazraoui, Maguire,
Oh, so not Euro.
Not
Sure.
Flick.
Shaw, not Delict. But I thought,
So Euro, Maguire, Shaw. That's
Yeah.
your three.
Ooh.
yeah,
No,
what?
sorry, Mazraoui, Maguire, Shaw.
Mazraoui, Maguire, Shaw.
Okay.
Not Leniero.
Yeah. I don't know where I'm
This
putting
is
him
the
in.
fun challenge. I think
What do you think, Carl?
I think there's like a secret battle for 2 or 3 of those roles.
Good.
So
There is only 2 or 3 of the roles.
well, good. Well, no,
Competition. So who's your number one
I
then?
want to be really specific here because I am of the personal opinion that Leniero plays better on the left than on the right.
Okay.
I think there's something about the way he plays on the left when he's shuttling and really attacking the final third, particularly going forward. Maybe it's just easier for him to pass off his right foot in that left channel.
I got
He was
quite
doing that
excited
on the
about
right,
him.
though, wasn't he?
Yeah, but
He was,
I've
but
got
there
very
is just-
clear things of sight in my mind of him doing it early on in European games at Old Trafford on that left centre back
Yeah.
role, just
Side.
getting the ball and just going.
There is something about him on the left side
Yes,
that
man.
I think he's enjoying, and I would like him to. So I think there might be a secret battle between Euro and Martinez later on this season for who wants that left side,
And Luke Shaw.
and Luke Shaw. So I want.
Aiden Heaven.
So if everyone's fit, match day 1 against Arsenal, I want Lenny Euro left-sided centre back. I think there might be a hidden battle between Maguire and De Ligt for the middle centre back.
I don't think that's hidden. I think that's clear, you know.
So and the
Yeah.
the middle centre back one is really, really, really important because we've seen 2 or 3 times now. Amorim wants the middle centre back to take the ball and push up into midfield. And Maguire's a good ball carrier, but also opposition teams, Newcastle did this really, really well, where they just blocked off all the passing lanes to Maguire.
That was also about who else was in the team that
Yes.
day, though. That wasn't a first choice Manchester United lineup at St James's Park, which impacts him going into midfield, then, doesn't it?
So I think Maguire and De Ligt will be dueling for the middle centre back role. I think so. Match day 1, I want Maguire there again. Because I think him at set pieces is really interesting. I think it's a better ball carrier than De Ligt. And the right-sided one, De Ligt has been good, but now he's got competition from Aiden Heaven and others,
Mazraoui.
and Mazraoui as well. So
Who are you going for?
I'm gonna go.
It's getting quite chippy with you when you didn't pick.
I'm going Lenny Euro, Harry Maguire, and I'm going to go Matthias De Ligt for match day 1 against
And what
Arsenal.
about further out, your wide one?
Further out, I'm going Diogo Dalot, and I'm going to go for Patrick Dorgu.
What
And
about
he's only
Shaw?
suspension.
Shaw further out on the left.
No, I don't want Luke Shaw wing back.
But
next
you're
season.
not. Right, okay.
No, Luke Shaw is a left-sided centre back from now on. If you want
Who,
Luke Shaw,
who says who?
if you want Luke Shaw,
Says you.
says Amorim. Says Amorim. Amorim said last season, I think the best position
Yeah, but
for
then
him
he
now
did
is-
it after that. Because I was the same as you.
If,
was
if
pretty
we
certain.
want 30 games of Luke Shaw next season, I think they're going to have to come at left-sided centre back because that up and down.
His delivery, though, could be a real asset from wing back, Luke Shaw.
It's one of his best skills.
Yeah.
It would be lovely. I think I want him left-sided centre back.
No,
if only to reduce
I'm
that
not
running.
convinced on Dorgu. I think he might have a shot there. Seriously, partly for the reasons
Yeah.
you've said.
Go on then, your 3. This has proved far more interesting than I thought. I hope it's interesting. Anyway, I'm sort of
I
judging
think-
it for everyone else.
I think Lenny Euro has to start for me.
Yeah.
I think I'd put him right side centre half. Do I start the season with Maguire or De Ligt at centre back? Let's go Maguire.
You've all agreed on that.
Have we? Oh, I didn't even notice
Yeah.
that. And then maybe just Mazraoui to start the season as the left-sided centre half.
Okay.
Maybe you could switch him and Euro, to be fair, but I just quite like having a full-back in one of those roles.
Remember, you've got Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. So who'd
That's
you
right,
put
he's
up?
bang on. He was spot
Yeah.
on last season.
Who'd you
wasn't
put
he?
up against him?
So he plays on the right. So yeah, is that Mazraoui? Yeah, let's put him there.
Just introducing that because we're saying who starts the season. They are playing Arsenal, and we have said on the podcast that we think they will change match to match to suit the opposition as well.
Yeah.
So who are you going for? What was the 3?
I think Mazraoui, Maguire, and Euro. I'm saying. Although obviously, Heaven played against Arsenal, his old club, and
He was good.
did well. So maybe.
The thing that gives Euro a advantage, or we'll probably see him be more selective, is he's a bit more comfortable defending the wider areas. He's got great recovery pace compared to Maguire and De Ligt. I think that means he'll be one of the more consistent selections in there. Although Heaven, I'm really interested to see what sort of defender he's going to develop into, because he's got a lot of raw talent.
Yeah, that's a question for another day, certainly. We're going to do goalkeepers another time as well. We spoke a lot about Andre Onana a couple of podcasts ago, so if you've not listened to it, go back and have a look at that. Okay, hopes, dreams, fears for the new season. It is a new season. It's a new way of us chatting to one another on YouTube as well. So I thought we'd mark the occasion with a little drinky poo. Know what you think?
Depends what a drinky poo is.
Well, you're about to find out. In fact, Laurie, we've got some nice new mugs that we could use for this. There's not just 4 mugs here. There's 3 more behind you.
Very good.
Do you have to stand up for it, do you?
No, well, no.
No, it's just that everyone's... That's fine.
Give me it
That was Andy's. There you are.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
Can we keep these?
Cheers.
No, we've only got one. Is that mine, is it?
Can we drink poo
Super.
out of them, or we just like props?
Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Nice. Smart.
Oops, you've not got one, Laurie.
Where's
have you?
mine?
I'll sort you out, don't worry. Right, I've sort of curated this
Okay.
to match your...
Created or curated? Both.
Curated. Pick them for you.
Okay.
There's me doing it now.
It's got a bag of tricks here down by the side
gonna
of
like-
his chair.
Just going to serve these up. So
Right.
this one's yours, Andy.
Go on.
It's basically a dry, bitter and northern beer. So I thought that might suit you quite well. It actually says it's made to Mancunian standards.
Okay.
So I feel like
Well,
that.
he's the judge for that, surely.
I feel like,
I'm
Nick
driving
Cox,
later on.
I'll just give you half a mug then. So GMP aren't watching. If Nick Cox thought you were good enough to be the Mancunian amongst us,
2 right.
then that seems good to me.
Want
Carl,
to neck it in one? Or
know-
we waiting?
I mean, it's probably more polite to wait for us all to have one first, than it really? Carl, I know you like a stout,
Yes.
and I know you like you're a fan of football tactics.
Yes,
so
sir.
I thought a beer called Hoof
Excellent.
was quite appropriate, really. It's a little stout number. So
Well, do you know, when I rewatched my fantastic assist at Old Trafford back, it all started from a build-up from the back with
yeah.
a Carl Anka hoof up pitch. So this is really apt.
Yeah, do you want a full one or?
Full one for me, please.
Yeah.
It is a...
There you are.
well, it's a Friday
It's a
somewhere.
Friday.
It's a Friday. Well, it's not actually. It's a Tuesday. So
It's a Friday somewhere. It's a Friday in my heart.
it's a Tuesday. So that's a coffee milk stout. So enjoy that.
Ooh, beautiful.
smells beautiful.
And obviously, Laurie, you've not got a mug.
Mm,
That's because I brought you a glass.
right, okay.
It's a martini
So
glass.
Let's have a look.
Here we go. Here we go.
There we are. Laurie can't have a beer. Again, anyone new to us will have no idea what this is about. Got to give it a shake.
Wow.
I'm supposed to give it a proper shake with ice. This is actually bottled in Stockport.
Come on.
Would you believe?
Beautiful.
That's where it's from. Right, sweet. Go on, sorry.
Thanks for that, Andy.
Sorry.
Cheers, Andy. Have you had a sip of
Referee.
that already? Can you hold that just while I pour it for?
Of course I
for our
can.
Lauren?
I'm
We
need
have
to make
got a
amends now,
bartender
don't I?
with us also,
Yeah.
you know.
So this is a I don't know if I'm allowed to say it on YouTube, but it's a Star Martini.
Oh, okay.
There
On
you
the
are.
A corn star martini.
That's the one. Oh, he's gonna have a
Smells good.
yeah. And
You're desperate to have a sip of that, aren't you,
I am.
Andy?
I've just got a beer I like.
Shall I pass
So
this
that's-
to Laurie?
Ah,
Do you think you can?
Yeah, I can.
I'm sort of doubting your
Feel like the
capabilities.
child in the class here now.
thank you very much.
Right.
Look at this.
So
Oh,
What have you
Ian,
got?
just one I like.
you've thought about us here, haven't
I
you?
thought about you three, yeah.
This is delightful.
So cheers.
Cheers.
Here's to the
Cheers.
new channel. Cheers to all
Cheers,
you
Thank you
watching
for
as well.
watching. Thank you for those
Let's
that
have a lot of
listen.
Hopefully it's a good season.
Mm.
21st title in May. Away we go.
Here's to the good
Oh,
times
wow.
being back.
Okay.
Oh, that's very refreshing.
That is
Nice.
going to give you some energy for this final part.
Oh, is it?
That's
Andy?
lovely.
You all right?
Yeah.
Go on, what's your verdict?
Bitter. It's a bit city.
It is a bitter, so
Oh, it's all right.
yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
So as we toast the new season, what are our hopes, dreams, and fears, Andrew Mitten?
Significant improvement on last year. More goals, more wins. Is that realistic enough for you? And
Yeah.
fewer injuries. Amorim showing that he's the man.
Yeah, I mean that is the ultimate list.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you want
Is
to
there
be more-
anything
more-
possible to
more
add to that?
specific? I want United to beat Liverpool at Anfield. It's not happened in a little bit, and
Nearly happened last year.
nearly did. They are the defending champions. They have strengthened.
Are they? Did they win the league? I've just blanked it all out. Didn't they?
They've spent a lot of dough, but there's something about that match and that fixture that hasn't gone well in recent years. So I want to see United go about fixing that. I've been living in Manchester for a couple of years now, and the Manchester derby, I think I'm slowly getting it. I'm not going to say I totally get it yet, but
What don't you get?
there was so normally you sit in the press box, and when United score, you try and just do it under your desk, you fist bump and whatnot. But I properly went for it when I had scored the winner last time. I went, this is it. It's the Manchester derby is now growing in importance for me, and it's now becoming one of the fixtures that I look for in the fixture list above ones that I used to look at.
Because there'll be a lot of people watching this who aren't in Manchester, obviously, and understanding a derby or beginning to understand a derby is an interesting point. I think we should talk about this more when we get towards the first one.
One thing, I mean, the last one, the not great 0-0 draw at Old Trafford, I wasn't working that day, so I thought, okay, I'll do my work and then I'll do my other job and I'll go to the pub afterwards. And I went to the pub and I went, no, we're closing early because it's the derby. You got a pub shut early on the derby. And I was all like, you what? I went, there's still nuances to this Manchester derby and to this city that I need to get my head around there. So I'm hoping this is another season where I'm properly gonna drink in all of the glory of the Manchester derby and the United Liverpool rivalry as well.
Few transfers to sort out, I think, before we get to achieving hopes, dreams, and fears. And in fact, in some ways, our hope is that all the issues there are now, as we record, are sorted in time for, if not the start of the season, the end of the transfer window. Because the nightmare scenario is that some of the problems continue beyond.
I mean, I fear that will be inevitable. It happens every year that United are active in some way around the end of a transfer window, be it signings or sales. Obviously happened last summer with Jadon Sancho. I feel like that might be a similar scenario again. I know that there is interest in him and Juventus, I think there's substance to that. But again, wages and the kind of exact configuration of what a deal looks like takes time. And I think that'll be the same kind of case with a few of the other outgoings as well. But United might make money without even selling players, right?
So it should be like a drum roll, drum hit, whatever you call it, for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like Antony is obviously, Newcastle have made a couple of bids now for him, haven't they? It feels like there's an expectation that will go through north of £50 million, which is a heck of a transfer, right? For a player who, I mean, United sold him for 15 million with a few add-ons, but I think if you'd have said when they were selling him that in a couple of years' time he will move for above £50 million, you would be, scratching your head a little bit and thinking, how's that happened? But you can see that for what Newcastle want and what he's done at Nottingham Forest this season, I think you can understand it.
To be honest, when Andy was bouncing up and down on Zoom with his yellow jumper on, singing the Antony Elanga song, I fully expected him to become at least a £50 million footballer.
Yeah, true. That song alone is worth 100 million, I would say. They were priceless memories, actually. Yeah. But United will benefit, right, if he goes and makes this extra move because they put a sell-on clause in. I think it's about 15%. The exact details haven't been
of the
fully
profit
confirmed
of the sale.
Yet, of the profit of the sale. So that's the crucial bit. So I know people are looking at the overall fee and thinking, well, they get whatever percentage it is of that straight in. Well, no, obviously there's it's Nottingham Forest wouldn't agree to that if they then made a loss on the player and still have to give some money to United. So yeah, take 15 million or whatever the add-ons might end up being away from what Newcastle end up agreeing, and that's the 15% of that is what United will get. 5 million-ish. So
it's still Dan Ashworth.
I was going to get more optimistic than that, Andy, and say
that's nearly as bad as mentioning Bilbao bringing that up.
It's a quarter of the first sum for Matheus Cunha.
I am looking forward to this season.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sceptical because I think it's sensible given what happened last season. But I'm looking forward to away games. United's away support's brilliant as well, and I think you'll start to really savour every game because there'll be very few midweek matches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So every game will become even more.
That's a really interesting point. It's been so long, hasn't it? And so I think that people.
Do you remember 14, 15?
Yeah, I do.
Not really.
Clearly, honestly, it's like
the weeks waiting.
Yeah. It was a big deal, and you draw Preston in the cup, and suddenly it seemed like a huge game because there weren't many other games.
They drew MK Dons, and it didn't go great. They didn't draw anymore after that. in the League Cup anyway. I mean, that's a nightmare if
If
that,
they go out
that
early in
happens
the League
again.
Cup.
Yeah.
Imagine you draw Liverpool, both the cup competitions,
Well, you
and
won't in the
knock them
second
both
round.
out.
Well, yeah, you might in the
But
third
we've
round.
got the bonus of the League Cup, haven't we, early on?
Yeah,
In
extra,
August.
extra
Right.
match.
Yeah. That was the MK Dons one then, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, second round of the League Cup.
Away
I'm
we
glad
go.
you're here today. You've really helped,
Yeah.
establish 2 or 3 things during this podcast. It's been good to have
Give
you.
us a draw
lot of
again.
Louis
We've
Van
not
Gaal mentioned
somewhere
today.
we've not been.
A lot of Louis Van Gaal mentioned.
Yeah,
Yeah,
played
there
a back
wasn't
three.
there? This doesn't involve a Louis and Van Gaal mention, but talking about building up games and everything, obviously the Arsenal game to start the season is huge. There's just maybe a little bit of added spice, Andy. You're going to be more on this than the rest of us. That Gabriel Heinze is coming back to
Yeah.
Old Trafford. Now, he has been back before. I did a bit of research this morning as a Marseille player, I think I want to say, in 2011.
Yeah.
The reports at the time didn't really focus on the reception that he got, but it seemed generally positive. Coming back as an Arsenal coach, considering how he left United, the way he's spoken about leaving United, the fallout with Ferguson, flirting with Liverpool, will it be more of an issue this time around?
I don't think he'll be remembered as a legend. Although at one point he was the cult hero.
Oh, he was, yeah.
Yeah.
He
Big
really,
time.
he was a top player. But I remember going to interview him, and I was really disappointed. And I say that rarely. He just didn't want to be there. He couldn't be bothered. And then I'll go to Liverpool, whatever. And the players rounded on him. I'm like, what are you on about? And he just wasn't an issue for him, and would not be coming back with Arsenal as well.
Quite uncompromising guy, really, wasn't he? Certainly the way he
Uncompromising
played.
player. He was a great
Yeah.
tackler. He'd hang in the air and still win the ball. But he damaged his rep. But he, for a brief time, he was top. But then Everett just took over, didn't he?
Never looked back, really, to be honest, and certainly improved the left side for United. So that'll be interesting. Maybe we'll talk about that a bit more nearer the time. Carl, I'm going to nick one of your ideas. Is that
Ooh,
okay?
Go ahead.
I'm really sorry. I'm sure you'll still have your moment with this on X, like you do every year. But if you haven't seen, Carl every season does, ahead of a new campaign, what do you call it, a bad take?
Bad take
Amnesty?
amnesty. So
Right.
it's the idea is not to be right. So it's the well.
We'll be good at that then.
Yeah, we can nail that.
So the way I want you to do it's X vibes, not XG. So you're watching a penalty shootout and you've seen the guy pick the ball up.
He's
and
missing.
and you're going, he's missing. And you're like, based on what? You're like, the way he looks, the way he stood, or there's a free kick, or you've just seen the brand new signing do keepy uppies at his unveiling. Like, oh, this is not going to work out. It's like, based on what?
I remember seeing Memphis Depay after his Old Trafford debut, I think it was. He scored twice against Club Bruges, and we were waiting to interview him, and he was sat on the floor with his head in his hands, and he just scored 2 on his first appearance at Old Trafford. And I said to him, "Are you okay?" And he said, "I can't believe I didn't score a hat-trick. Can't believe I didn't score a hat-trick." And from that moment, I was convinced that he was going to be the thing for Manchester United. That incredible level that he wanted to reach in that moment. The fact he was disappointed to only score 2 on his Old Trafford debut, that's the type of character we want.
So that feeling, that gut feeling.
I'd have been wrong on that, to be fair.
What about Wout Weghorst? You thought he'd be better than Messi?
I did like the signing about. Hey, by the way, name me the best Manchester United performance of recent seasons. You always refer to it.
How recent?
Well,
he's talking
Barcelona
about
away.
Barcelona
Okay,
away.
all right.
It's like your
that
reference
was the
point.
number 10.
Yeah, it's Marcus Rashford played very well that night, actually.
And Weghorst
Weghorst played
contributed.
well. Yeah, he did. All
So
right.
the
Hello, Val.
amnesty is
All right, Val.
the amnesty is you take that nagging thought, that feeling, that thing you've seen,
Yeah.
you say it, I take it, I put it in a big vault. It's not to be right, and then we look in again in January, after January window closes.
See if you're semi-right.
Do you want to double check this? And then at the end of this season, we'll bring it back up, and then we'll see where we are.
Right, well, we'll do this on Talk of the Devils then, if that's okay. It is
Absolutely.
nicking your idea a bit.
That's
so,
fine.
have you got one?
Give me 30 seconds.
Have you got one?
Does it have to be about United?
Yes, please.
Well, I think everyone watching would
Yeah, we are a
probably,
United
or listening,
podcast,
would
aren't
like
we?
it to
Yeah.
be
I mean, you
about
can do it about
Manchester United.
Plymouth Argyle if you want. Not many
I think
people
Ken
care.
Barlow's going to leave Coronation Street. Has he already left, actually? I don't know.
All right, here's mine.
Go on.
Oh, here we go.
Harry Maguire scoring 10 goals this season.
Oh,
He's going to score 10
that's
goals
a good shout, you know.
in a reduced number of matches.
I think we're going to get a double
Steve
figure
Bruce
amount.
season
We're
from
getting
Harry
a Steve
Maguire.
Bruce season from Harry Maguire.
Will they all be in stoppage time?
I think the new additions to the front line and hopefully some work on the training ground with the extra time between matches can see a little spike
You going with 10?
in set pieces. I think Casemiro's going to chip in heavily with some goals, but I think Maguire can push to double figures.
Who's going to take the corners?
Not Bruno Fernandes.
Is it a bad take to sort of say something that's... Well, I genuinely believe this, but it's not that outlandish.
We'll
I think.
decide whether it's a bad take or not.
Lenny Yoro to be nominated for Young Player of the Year
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I like that.
in the PFA Awards.
Is that a bad take, amnesty pick?
You can say.
Is it a bit too
No.
safe?
No.
I'll
I
take
think
it. I'll take it. I'll
Yeah.
take it. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Carl's the adjudicator on this.
Well,
so
it's his game, yeah.
trademarked.
Okay, so that's yours.
Yeah.
Amad to become one of the main leaders of the team to have a really good season.
How good?
Yeah, Cunha, you got to
In
Be
what
bold.
position?
Be bold,
statistically.
yeah.
Centre half. Be bolder. All right.
We're going.
How many
double
goals is he
Yeah.
scoring?
all right.
How many
He's
assists
all
is he
right,
getting?
okay.
All right.
His XG is going to be
Yeah.
2.94. He's
How
going
many
to play
goals is he getting?
1,762 minutes. He's going to score 14 goals. And is that enough?
14 goals.
That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
all
we'll
right,
take
yeah.
14
That's
goals.
a lot. Because what did he get? 8 last year in the
Yeah,
league.
14 goals. All right, that's a good place to end.
All right, I stand by it then.
Yeah.
Come
Go
on,
on, what
you
about
are
you?
now.
I didn't think you'd ask me.
Well, just have done.
Let me think. I think that Manchester United will lead the Premier League table at some point in the season.
I like that. That's good. That's
Here
good.
we go.
That's good.
Whether that's actually true or not, I have no idea. But that was just the thing that came
Can't happen
quickly
the first.
to me.
The last time it happened on the first day, beating Arsenal in '89, but it
Yeah.
can't happen this time because there's a game
Well,
the night before. Isn't
there's
there?
a Friday night thing
Yeah, Liverpool
count.
play.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
So United, when they beat, was it Wolves they played on the Friday night? Or was that the Monday night? Who did they play on the Friday?
Fulham.
They beat Fulham.
Match day one.
In fact, it was last season,
yeah,
right?
last
Yeah.
season
So they would have topped the table
for a couple hours.
Yeah.
So
well,
we
no,
just
for a
need-
day
We just
until
need
everyone kicked off.
1 hour of United top of the table and it counts.
Yeah, okay.
We'll have that.
Let's see then, eh? Let's start a little bit more optimistically. I'll drink to that.
Make
One
sure
last sip
you
before
put
we
your
finish.
bad prediction in the comment section. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe.
Oh, I love that, Carl Anka. Thank you very much.
I told you he was the pro.
Isn't it your bit, by the way?
No,
doing
he's
that?
welcome to it.
Anyway, I've enjoyed it. You enjoyed it?
Yeah.
It's been great to be
Subscribe,
here.
press down.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Click the bell. Yeah? That's what you got to do.
Is that like when, in Wall Street, when they have a good trade and they like ring the bell in
Sure.
happiness?
Why
Or the last
They
bell,
ring the bell
at the pub?
It's the end of the day in Wall Street, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's getting weirder, isn't
Okay,
it?
right.
Anyway, click the bell, rate, subscribe, comment, email devilspod@theathletic.com. Just get involved. It's been brilliant to be here. It's been brilliant to get all your support as time's gone on. We're going to have a brilliant season, whatever happens with Manchester United. We're going to try anyway. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.